There. Now it should not be muted. These glasses keep getting stuck on my, uh, thank you, keep getting stuck on my earring. It's got a flat back that screws on. And so this little piece right here, that piece, keeps getting wrapped around it. And so I had to change this one because I lost the other one of these somewhere. It is what it is. Thank you, Lily. I guess I should call you Lillian, maybe? Lily. In case if you don't know, I do have a twin sister. Her name is Lillian. Um, she is 2 minutes older than me. Yes, she'll be 50 before me. Oh, man. Anyways, today is Thursday, and it has been a very long, emotional 2 days. Uh, so, yeah. Well, 3 days, I should say. Um, anyways, after that, you didn't hear me? Oh, okay. Um, so it is AA day, and it has been one of those days. One of those days. Oh, yeah, I had muted it, and then I realized that I had not unmuted it. So, anyways, please be mindful in the comments and the chat. This is an AA meeting, and we don't like being judged here. It is an open meeting, so if you feel comfortable enough to be in the chat to talk about your story or have any questions about it, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I will answer it to the best of my sobriety. I have been sober for 11 and a half years, and I have friends and family members that are still suffering, and so yeah, I am on both sides of it, and I remember very well what it was like to be in the throes of my alcoholism. And anyways, my name's Sandra, and I'm an alcoholic. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I also put in the description what we're reading, the page, the story, all of that. Oh, I know, I saw it. Anyways, we are reading the 12 Step 12 Traditions book, and we are on step 12, page 106. 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to ourselves. Let me go back. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. 7. Humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory and when wrong, proudly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Like I said, it's been a rough couple of days. The joy of living is the theme of AA's 12th step, and action is its key word. Here we turn outward toward our fellow alcoholics who are still in distress. Here we experience the kind of giving that asks no rewards. Here we begin to practice all 12 steps of the program in our daily lives so that we and those about us may find emotional sobriety. When the 12th step is seen in its full implication, it is really talking about the kind of love that has no price tag on it. Our 12th step also says that as a result of practicing all the steps, we have each found something called a spiritual awakening. To new AAs, this often seems like a very dubious and improbable state of affairs. What do you mean when you talk about a spiritual awakening? They ask. Maybe there are as many definitions of spiritual awakening as there are people who have had them. But certainly each genuine one has something in common with all the others. Quit. Do that on the floor. And these things which they have in common are not too hard to understand. When a man or a woman has a spiritual awakening, the most important meaning of it is that he has now become able to feel and believe that which he could not do before on his unaided strength and resources alone. He has been granted a gift which amounts to a new state of consciousness and being. He has been set on a path which tells him he is really going somewhere, that life is not a dead end, not something to be endured or mastered. In a very real sense, he has been transformed because he has laid hold of a source of strength, which in one way or another he had hitherto denied himself. He finds himself in possession of a degree of honesty, tolerance, unselfishness, peace of mind, and love of which he had thought himself quite incapable. What he has received is a free gift, and yet, usually, at least in some small part, he has made himself ready to receive it. AA's manner of making ready to receive this gift lies in the practice of the 12 steps in our program. So let's consider briefly what we have been trying to do up to this point. Step 1 showed us an amazing paradox. We found that we were totally unable to be rid of the alcohol obsession until we first admitted that we were powerless over it. In step 2, we saw that since we could not restore ourselves to sanity, some higher power must necessarily do so if we were to survive. Consequently, in step 3, we turned our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood Him for the time being. We who were atheists or agnostic discovered that our own group of AA as a whole would suffice as a higher power. Beginning with step 4, we commenced to search out the things in ourselves which had brought us to physical, moral, and spiritual bankruptcy. We had a searching and fearless moral inventory. Looking at step 5, we decided that an inventory taken alone wouldn't be enough. We knew we would have to quit the deadly business of living alone with our conflicts, and in honesty confide these to God and to another human being. At step 6, many of us balked for the practical reason that we did not wish to have all our defects of character removed, because we still loved some of them too much. Yet we knew we had to make a settlement with the fundamental principle of step 6. So we decided that while we still had some flaws of character that we could not yet relinquish, we ought to nevertheless to quit our stubborn, rebellious hanging on to them. We said to ourselves, "This I cannot." Then in step 7, we humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. such as he could or would under the conditions of the day we asked. In step 8, we continued our house cleaning, for we saw that we were not only in conflict with ourselves, but also with others, with people, and situations in the world in which we live. We had to begin to make our peace. Or, sorry. And so we listed the people we had harmed and become willing to set things right. We followed this up in step 9 by making direct amends to those concerned, except when it would injure them or other people. By this time, at step 10, we had begun to get a bias for daily living, and we nearly realized that we would need to continue taking personal inventory, and when we're in the wrong, promptly admit it. In step 11, we saw that if a higher power had restored us to sanity and had enabled us to live with some peace of mind in a sorely troubled world, then such a higher power was worth knowing better by as direct contact as possible. The presented us of meditation and prayer we found did open the channel so that where there had been a trickle, there now was a river, which led to sure power and safe guidance from God, as we were increasingly better able to understand Him. I'm not sponsored by the soda company either, just so y'all know. So, practicing these steps, we had a spiritual awakening about which finally there was no question. Looking at those who were only beginning and still doubted themselves, the rest of us were able to see the change setting in. For great numbers of such experiences, we could predict that the doubter who still claimed that he hadn't got the spiritual angle and who still considered his well-loved AA group the higher power would presently love God and call him by name. Now what about the rest of the 12th step? The wonderful energy it releases as the eager action by which it carries our message to the next suffering alcoholic, and which finally translates the 12 steps into action upon all our affairs, is the payoff, the magnificent reality of Alcoholics Anonymous. Even the newest of newcomers find undreamed rewards as he tries to help his brother alcoholic, the one who is even blinder than he. This is indeed the kind of giving that actually demands nothing. He does not expect his brother's supper to pay him, or even to love him. And then he discovers that by the divine paradox of this kind of giving, received anything or not, his own character may still be gravely defective, but he somehow knows that God has enabled him to make a mighty beginning, and he senses that he stand at the edge of new mystery, joys, and experiences of which he had never even dreamed. Particularly even AA members declares that no satisfaction has been deeper and no joy greater than in 12-step job. Well done. To watch the eyes of men and women open with wonder as they move from darkness into light, to see their lives quickly fill with new purpose and meaning, to see whole families reassembled, to see the alcoholic outcast received back into his community in full citizenship, and above all, to watch these people awaken to the presence of a loving God in their lives. These things are the substance of what we receive as we carry AA's message to the next alcoholic. Nor is this the kind of 12-step work we sit. I already read that part. We may often pass through 12-step experiences where we will seem to be temporarily off the beam. These will appear as big setbacks at the time, but will be seen later as stepping stones to better things. For example, we may set our hearts on getting a particular person sobered up. It's been a hard couple of days. Ugh. I'm trying to find my spot. Okay, I'm just gonna wing it. Here, the temptation is to become rather possessive of these newcomers. Perhaps we try to give them advice about their affairs, which we aren't really competent to give or ought not to at all. Not to give at all. Then we are hurt and confused when the advice is rejected or when it is accepted and brings still greater confusion. By a great deal of our ardent 12 step work, we sometimes carry the message to so many alcoholics that they place us in a position of trust. They make us, let us say, I looked away, the group's chairman. Here again, we are presented with the temptation to overmanage things, and sometimes this result in rebuffs and other consequences, which are hard to take. But in the longer run, we clearly realize that these are only the pains of growing up, and nothing but good can come from them if we turn more and more to the entire 12 step for the answers. Now comes the biggest question yet. What about the practice of these principles in all our affairs? Can we love the whole pattern of living as eagerly as we do the small segment of it we discover when we try to help other alcoholics achieve sobriety? Can we bring the same spirit of love and tolerance into our sometimes deranged family lives that we bring to our AA group? Can we have the same kind of confidence and faith in these people who have been infected and sometimes crippled by by our own illness, that we have in our sponsors? Can we actually carry the AA spirit into our daily work? Can we meet our newly recognized responsibility to the world at large? And can we bring new purpose and devotion to the religion of our choice? Can we find a new joy of living in trying to do something about all these things? Furthermore, how shall we come to terms with seeming failure or success? Can we now accept and adjust to either without despair or pride? Can we accept poverty, sickness, loneliness, and bereavement with courage and serenity? Can we steadfastly content ourselves with the humbler yet sometimes more durable satisfaction when the brighter, more glittering achievements are denied us? The AA answer to these questions about living is yes, all of these things are possible. We know this because we set monotony, pain, and even calamity turned to good use by those who keep on trying to practice AA's 12 steps. And if these are facts of life for the many alcoholics who have recovered in AA, they can become the fact of life for many more. Of course, all AAs, even the best, fall far short of such achievements as a consistent thing without necessarily taking the first drink. We often get quite far off the beam, Our troubles sometimes begin with indifference. We are sober and happy in our AA work. Things go well at home and office. We naturally congratulate ourselves on what later proves to be a far too easy and superficial point of view. We temporarily cease to grow because we feel satisfied that there is no need for all of AA's 12 steps for us. We are doing fine on a few of them. Maybe we are doing fine on only two of them. The first step, and that of the 12th, where we carry the message in AA slang, that blissful state is known as two-stepping, and it can go on for years. The best intention of us can fall for the two-step illusions. Sooner or later, the pink cloud stage wears off, and things go disappointingly dull. We begin to think that AA doesn't pay off after all. We become puzzled and discouraged. Then perhaps life, as it has a way of doing, suddenly hands us a great big lump that we can't begin to swallow, let alone digest. We fail to get a work or promotion. We lose that good job. Maybe there are serious domestic or romantic difficulties. Or perhaps that boy we thought God was looking after becomes a military casualty. What then? Have we alcoholics in AA got, or can we get the result or the resources to meet these calamities which come to so many? These were problems of life which we could never face up to. Can we now, with the help of God as we understand Him, handle them as well and as bravely as our calamities into assets, sources, or growth and comfort to ourselves and those about us? Well, we surely have a chance if we switch from two-stepping to 12-stepping. If we are willing to receive that grace of God which can sustain and strengthen us in any catastrophe. Our basic troubles are the same as everyone else's, but when an honest effort is made to practice these principles in all our affairs, well-grounded AAs seem to have the ability, by God's grace, to take these troubles in stride and turn them into demonstrations of faith. We have seen AA suffer lingering and fatal illness with little complaint and often in good cheer. We have sometimes seen families broken apart by misunderstanding, tensions, or actual infidelity who are reunited by the AA way of life. This one is a long one. So I'm going to stop there. I got emotional on the 12th step because So many times have I gone and been like excessively trying to help the next one. I do 2 meetings a week. I hardly ever miss a meeting of doing my own meeting. But I also have family members and friends who still suffer that I know all I can do is pray for them. For them to find God's will as they understand Him. Find it's that thing's way and not their own. Because I have done that. I have helped people who then now I don't talk to, and I take it overly personal. It's hard not to, because when it's a friend or, well, the hardest part is watching a family member struggle and then do something dumb and make another person hurt and have that depression and feel like they're the one that did something wrong. I know that it's a struggle to get sober and to stay sober, and it's a daily life. It's every single day you have to constantly remember that there's a purpose of why you are sober and why you are here, why you have done AA, why you still work your steps every day. And I remember being that newcomer and coming into AA and wanting to help the next one. And when I found that some of my friends had ventured back out, it was crushing. Or when I helped somebody get sober and then they like cut me off completely and I don't understand why. But it's not for me to understand. It's for them to know that if they can do those steps, they can stay sober. And that's the number one thing is getting sober and staying sober. And I can't make anybody get sober or stay that way. All I can do is my service work, which um, having a sponsor has helped me to learn how to do my service work. And when I come around on these topics, it reminds me of why I keep doing this work. It's to help the next one or the one who is still suffering, regardless of who it is. I can't help somebody financially. I'm not into being able to do that. I'm not rich and I'm not famous. I'm just me and I'm sober and I'm sharing my story about getting sober and staying sober. That is one of my major purposes that I drill on every day, all day. Like, what am I doing that I need to be, it has to be a different way of what do I say and how do I do it and not hurt someone's feelings, and instantly knowing when I need to make my amends. And it's not that I Sometimes I really don't want to make my amends, but I do it anyway. And there's many, many times that I have told my sponsor, I am not praying for that person. No way. I'm done. Nope, not doing it. And guess what? I end up praying for that person anyway. And I do it the same way she taught me how. Do it for 2 weeks, and eventually, you know, you're going to be over it yourself. And we don't have to keep subjecting ourselves to that issue. And I just pray that this person finds, or these people and anyone struggling with sobriety can find their way to a meeting, to a group, or to a stranger to sit down and talk to that person about your your journey of being on the wrong end of the addiction, and find that you can make it and stay sober. There are many groups out there. There are many rehab facilities, and a lot of people do get sober and they do stay sober, but there are still many of them out there that are still suffering, and that's why we do our service work, is for the next person. And if I help one person today, that is fine. That is great. And that's my intent on doing these meetings, and just helping the next one. And I gotta pray for that person. I'm just glad I know how to talk to the other person that was on the other end of that deal and make her know it's not her fault. So, it's out of my hands. Anyway, I love you guys, and I thank you for being here, and thank you for listening. And if you're watching the replay, just know you're not alone. And if you're not in the chat or the comments, I completely understand. I was the newcomer. I was the first from my family to get sober from alcohol, that is. But and I've never had the other problem. But I have family members and friends that have had that problem, that have gotten sober also. So 12-step work works. I'm living proof. And now I gotta pray for that other person. Anyways, my sister, July 19th, is coming fast. And it's 11. And I'm so happy and proud to have you on the sobriety journey with me. And I love you guys. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Love you too, sis.